Picture this. You spend months nurturing a plant, giving it prime real estate in your garden, only to realize it's become your worst nightmare. Some plants look innocent at the garden center, but once they're in your soil, they turn into space-hogging bullies that spread everywhere, damage your property, or simply refuse to behave. Today we're counting down the 7 plants that waste your time and garden space, the ones that professional gardeners and experienced home growers wish they'd never planted. Let's start with number 7 and work our way to the absolute worst offender. Ever seen a hedge that looks like it's trying to take over the neighborhood? Cherry laurel might seem like the perfect solution for quick privacy, but here's what nobody tells you at the garden center. This aggressive shrub grows up to 3 feet every single year, which sounds great until you realize what that actually means for your weekend plans. Professional gardeners report spending months each year just trying to keep established cherry laurel hedges under control, painstakingly trimming them by hand because they grow so dense that power tools can barely penetrate. The real problem isn't just the relentless growth, it's how cherry laurel creates dense, dark walls that completely block sunlight from reaching anything nearby. Your other plants will struggle and eventually die in the heavy shade it creates. Plus, those attractive berries it produces? They're toxic to pets, making it a dangerous choice if you have dogs or cats. Cherry laurel also sends out suckers and can spread beyond where you originally planted it. Once it gets tall, maintaining it becomes a nightmare that requires professional help or serious ladder work. Instead of cherry laurel, consider western red cedar for privacy screening. It grows at a much more manageable pace, won't poison your pets, and actually looks better as it matures without turning into a maintenance monster. The name mile-a-minute vine should have been the first red flag, but those delicate white flowers can be surprisingly deceiving. Russian vine earns its terrifying nickname through sheer aggressive speed. One gardener shared how their neighbor planted this climber, and within a single season it had leaped over the fence and completely smothered their beautiful established lilac tree. Despite constant efforts to pull it back and stop it from climbing, the vine grew so fast and aggressively that the tree couldn't be saved. What makes Russian vine particularly insidious is how it doesn't respect boundaries. Not property lines, not other plants, not even your attempts to control it. It sends out runners in every direction and can cover enormous areas in just one growing season. The vine wraps around everything it encounters, effectively strangling other plants and creating tangled messes that become increasingly impossible to manage. Even when you think you've removed it all, Russian vine has an annoying habit of regrowing from any root pieces left behind. Gardeners report fighting the same vine for years, never quite winning the battle. If you want fast-growing coverage, choose well-behaved climbers like native honeysuckle or certain clematis varieties that won't turn your garden into a botanical horror movie. Bamboo looks absolutely stunning in garden magazines. That sleek, modern architectural feel that transforms any space into something special. But there's a reason experienced gardeners break out in cold sweats when they see it for sale. The problem isn't bamboo itself, it's the running varieties that most garden centers sell without proper warnings. These types spread through underground runners called rhizomes, and once they're established, they become nearly impossible to contain. One gardener inherited bamboo in their new property and discovered new shoots popping up everywhere for years, no matter how much they thought they'd removed. Running bamboo doesn't care about your carefully planned garden beds or property lines. Those rhizomes can travel several meters underground before sending up new shoots in completely unexpected places, like the middle of your lawn or your neighbor's prized flower border. Even when you think you've dug it all up, any tiny piece of rhizome left behind will regenerate into a full plant. The constant battle to control bamboo's spread becomes exhausting, turning what should be a peaceful garden feature into a never-ending chore. If you love the bamboo look, stick with clumping varieties that grow in tight clusters and don't send out runners. They give you all the beauty without turning your garden into a bamboo battlefield. Jerusalem artichokes might sound exotic and interesting, but they come with a lifetime commitment you probably didn't sign up for. These relatives of sunflowers produce edible tubers underground, which seems like a great addition to any vegetable garden. The tall stems with bright yellow blooms even add a lovely splash of colour to raised beds. But here's where things get problematic. Those tubers multiply like crazy underground, and harvesting them becomes an exercise in futility. Professional gardeners share countless stories of people still digging up Jerusalem artichokes years after planting just a handful. Even when you think you've harvested every single tuber, leaving behind even the tiniest piece means new plants will sprout the following season. It becomes a plant once, harvest forever situation, whether you want to or not. The underground tuber system spreads far beyond the original planting area, popping up in unexpected places throughout your garden. Some gardeners have found Jerusalem artichokes sprouting dozens of feet away from where they originally planted them. Trying to completely remove them requires excavating huge areas of soil and sifting through every bit to find stray tuber pieces. Instead of Jerusalem artichokes, grow regular potatoes or sweet potatoes in containers where you can control exactly where they grow and easily harvest everything at the end of the season. Drop a comment below if you've battled any of these garden bullies yourself. I'd love to hear your horror stories. Japanese anemones seem like the perfect fall perennial. Those soft, papery flowers in delicate pink and white shades that bloom just when everything else is winding down for the season. These charming flowers hide one of the most aggressive spreading habits in the perennial world. Japanese anemones launch a two-pronged attack on your garden space. First, they spread through underground rhizomes that snake through the soil, sending up new plants far from the original location. Second, they're prolific self-seeders, dropping seeds that create even more plants throughout your beds. What starts as a single clump quickly becomes a dominating presence that crowds out other plants. In ideal conditions, rich soil and plenty of sun, Japanese anemones grow so prolifically that they can take over entire flower beds within a few seasons. They're particularly sneaky because they look innocent enough when small, but once established, they outcompete more well-behaved plants. The spreading rhizomes make removal extremely difficult. Even when you think you've dug up all the roots, any fragments left behind will regrow into new plants. Many gardeners find themselves in an endless cycle of dividing clumps and pulling up unwanted shoots. For beautiful fall colour without the takeover drama, try native New England asters instead. They provide similar late-season blooms and attract pollinators without turning your garden into their personal territory. English ivy brings that classic, timeless charm to any garden. Those elegant dark green leaves, trailing gracefully over walls and fences, creating that perfect cottage garden aesthetic. But behind this beautiful facade lurks a plant that can literally damage your property, while taking over everything in sight. English ivy doesn't just climb, it anchors itself with tiny rootlets that penetrate deep into brick, wood and bark. Over time, these roots cause serious structural damage to walls, trap moisture where you don't want it, and can even destabilize building foundations. The damage doesn't stop with your structures. English ivy suffocates trees by blocking sunlight and adding dangerous weight to branches. It spreads relentlessly across the ground and up any vertical surface it encounters, creating dense mats that smother native plants and completely alter the ecosystem underneath. Removal becomes a nightmare project. Those clinging roots leave permanent scars on walls and bark, and cutting the vine back only encourages more aggressive growth. Even when you think you've removed it all, hidden runners often regenerate months later, forcing you to start the battle all over again. Many gardeners report spending more time fighting ivy than enjoying their outdoor space. For climbing beauty without the destruction, consider native honeysuckle or well-behaved clematis varieties that give you coverage without the property damage. Mint seems like such an obvious choice for any herb garden. It smells amazing, grows easily, and who doesn't love fresh mojitos and homemade tea? Here's what makes mint the ultimate garden bully. It spreads through underground runners that have absolutely no respect for boundaries. What starts as one innocent little mint plant quickly becomes an unstoppable invasion force that conquers your entire garden. Those sneaky runners travel underground, popping up in flower beds, lawns, and even neighbouring properties. Professional gardeners describe mint removal as one of their most frustrating challenges. They'll spend exhausting hours digging and sifting through soil, trying to find every single piece of root, because leaving behind even the tiniest fragment means the mint will return with a vengeance. One gardener inherited mint that had been planted directly in garden borders, and spent months painstakingly trying to eliminate the spreading clumps that had taken over multiple areas. The runners can travel surprisingly far underground before surfacing, so you'll find mint sprouting in completely unexpected places throughout your property. It doesn't just compete with other plants, it actively crowds them out and takes over their space. The solution is brilliantly simple. Always grow mint in containers. Whether you keep pots on your patio or sink containers into the ground, you get all the aromatic benefits without turning your garden into a mint monopoly. These 7 plants prove that bigger, faster and more aggressive isn't always better in the garden. Your time and space are precious. Invest them in plants that reward you instead of creating endless work. If you found this helpful, check out this next video where I'll show you the best plants that actually deserve a spot in your garden.